Is how to use one of the most powerful nodes in Blender, the Ambient Occlusion. So let's use this. First of all, let me toggle this and screencast keys where it is. Okay, so let's delete everything, add a cube, plane, go to shading workspace, this is at rendered view. I'm using cycles. Okay, so drop this, turn off scene world and scene right, make your world opacity to 0 and stand to something like this. Okay, let me think. Dino is 5. Okay, so let's apply our ambient occlusion node in here. Ambient occlusion. Shift D, turn this to black. Control Shift and right click for this. I don't know why it is not working. Okay, so this is normally how it works, our mix shader. But when you put this in here, you can see what is happening. Let me switch this. You can see these area where edges of these are connecting have a high effect of ambient occlusion. Let me do something first. You can also see this in EV view if you want. Let's change this to EV and make sure you turn on ray tracing, and let's go to render view, turn on ray tracing and then fart J approximation. There you set ambient occlusion to see it better. Now you can see these areas where you can mix any shader. Like for example, I can use, let me make a shader first. I'm using any material. I have downloaded most of them from free websites which are available there, like CG, Ambient CG and Polyheaven, etc. Let me use this as asphalt 029. Okay, so there is our node, edit local. Okay, let's use ambient occlusion in this. So let's group these nodes first, Control G. So now what you can do, add a principal VSTF, Control Shift right click to mix them. Now you can use this as a factor and take a color ramp, place it here. If you want to check what is doing, you can check it here. If you increase this, you will see the edges have effect in factor of this, so you can change anything from here. Now if you want, you can make this thing like this. Let me show you first this. Let's switch this alt plus S for switching. You can see too much effect of this. So let's apply another material on this cube and take this, Control G to group, copy through by Control C copy, Control V. Let's change this from here, change this in. Now you can see what's happening. Where these parts are here, they are affecting, where anything is here, it is affecting our ambient occlusion. Is basically when there are some connectivity in your edge, in your any part of the mesh. So we can use this information to mix any other shaders by using this setup. And also you can increase decrease sample if you want, and also you can use color ramp for high contrast like this. You can see that these two are different. Let me remove this placement so you can see what is happening. Let me see this. Okay, so this is how you can fastly create your dust effect. It is looking not good. Let's change it to cycle. Now you can see this better. Now you can see this, how this is working, our ambient occlusion node. If you increase this, this will have high effect of this. Let's make it back. You can see how these edges, how these faces in here are affecting by this node here. So you can use this to create an berry material, and let me now show you another way to use this. So let's unplug this, take this, now click on inside and change sample to something like 4 and 5, and now rejoin them by Control Shift right click and drag also. Now you can see that Alt S. Now you can see that we are getting these effect on the edges of our mesh. Now we know this, we don't need this plane. You can see that now this effect is happening in only edges of our meshes, and that part which are like connecting to each other, in that part it is connecting. Let me see better. Okay, so these are black parts are which are white in this shader. You can press Alt S to switch that. Now you can use this information to make any material if you want. Like I have to show you this material, these white edges I have made it using ambient occlusion node. Let me show you where it is. You can see this, there are 5 samples and I clicked inside for these, for the effect in these edges. Let me first unpack this. You can see these, I have affected edges by using 5 samples and distance to something like 0.015. Now ambient occlusion, these black parts are basically, these are just information which you can use to add some other things into it, and you can use many other things and create very detailed material like this one. This doesn't look good without our ambient occlusion node. Let me show you. where it is ambient occlusion. If I remove this, you can see this doesn't have that realistic feeling, but when I press Ctrl Z, you can see that ambient occlusion is a very powerful node which you must. Let me change factor to where we have to switch this node is basically very useful. You have to use it, and I have to also show you some other stuffs like if you don't want to add textures and that you just wanted to add images in it, you can do it by like this. I have created a material for that. you you can create these type of mini setups. You can copy these exact if you want. Let me unpack this, and you can use noise texture also for this distance value to make it animated if you want, like these animation small littles, and just change this to something low like 0.015 to get this effect on only on edges of your mesh. And now you can basically use in anything. You just increase contrast a little bit and use mix color, and there use it in factor and image. Like I want to set an image texture here. Let me open any image, any random texture, these are displacement maps, like I'm using this one for example, and shifted image here. Okay, let me use this one. But if I want edges some different, so I can use like something like this one. Now I am not seeing this because I have to increase the distance. Now you can see that we are seeing these patterns on edge of our mesh. You can see that if I remove it and if I add it, these are not perfect examples, but you understand the main base. Now you can use that. And also I have to show you A for contact, which I have already shown you, but this is for this mix color, not your principal shaders. I mean shader which you connect by mix shader. You can just remember these. If you want to animate, take a noise texture, convert it to 4D and plug it into your distance. If you want to increase or decrease strength, just use multiply, math multiply node, and multiply if you want to increase your distance or add it like a value of 0.5 etc. Now you know how to use ambient occlusion node, and these are just basic simple nodes, but if you know how to use, you can create very elastic materials like these materials which I have created. Like these all contain a part of ambient occlusion in it. You can see this looks very cool at these edges here. You can see these edges looks very cool, and these all materials are similar. I have used ambient occlusion in all of it, and you can now create anything you want. Now you get it how to use it, so use it and create some materials, and see ya then. Goodbye.